Hey, shalom, Israel, Most High in Christ. Bless. I'm Officer Adriel with IUIC Virginia, here with another edition of History in the AM.
We in this building.
All right. The title of this class is from Gods to Barbarians. Who I got as my reader?
Soldier Nehemiah.
Soldier Nehemiah. All right, Israel, prepare yourselves. It's going to be a little bit of reading. We're going to have some videos. All right, but do your best to keep up. It won't be too deep of a class, but we do have some content that we need to touch on, all right?
Yeah.
So the lesson objective is identify who Paul is referring to when he mentions being a debtor to barbarians. All right, I'm going to read it one more time. The lesson objective is to identify who Paul is referring to when he mentions being a debtor to barbarians. All right, so first we're going to establish the context and definitions of gods and barbarians. All right, go ahead and give me Psalms 82, verse 6. All right, Psalms 82, verse 6. Brothers, if your head is covered, uncover your head. Sisters, if your head is not covered, cover your head. Right, it should be that way since we sent up prayers. All right, go ahead and read that for me.
The book of Psalms, chapter 82 and verse 6. I have said, ye are gods.
Read that again.
I have said, ye are gods.
Ye are gods. Now, who is he talking about? Read on.
And all of you are children of the Most High.
And all of us are the children of the Most High. All right? All of us are the children of the Most High. So, who is he referring to? The Israelites. Ye are gods. What make us gods? Because we're the sons of God. Now, for my sisters out there, guess what? You are the daughters, the princesses. And though you may not be gods, for sure, you're not going to be humans. You're not human. All right? It said y'all going to be built like palaces. And I put it like this, in order to handle a God, you can't be just normal. You can't be regular. All right? Especially with what the Lord going to bless us with if we endure. Man. All right? So, Israel, endure to the end, endure to the end. All right? Now, go ahead and give me that first link, IT. Give me that first definition of gods. All right? Because we're going to establish the gods, the barbarians. We're going to get a baseline before we jump into it. Read that for me.
God, the supreme or ultimate reality, such as the being perfect in power, wisdom, and godness, who is worshipped as in Judaism.
So, the first definition, it says the supreme or ultimate reality. All right? But that's not the one I want. Scroll down. Scroll down a little bit more. So, verse 2, that's going to be for us in the kingdom. You can read that.
Which one? 3?
Verse 2. Or number 2, excuse me.
Number 2, or less commonly, God, a being or object that is worshipped as having more than natural attributes and powers.
So that's going to be us in the kingdom. So we are titled gods right now, right? But who worship us? Who do what we say? Who? Nope, they don't, right? We Negroes as far as the world is concerned. But in the kingdom, as the scriptures say, we're going to be as the gods unto these nations.
Yeah.
Now, number 3. Number 4 is what I want, but read number 3 as well.
Number 3, a person or thing of supreme value.
Guess what? It said we're going to be made more precious than a gold or Ophir. All right, so I'm just touching on a few things. Number 4 is what I want, though. Read that.
Number 4, a powerful ruler.
A what?
A powerful ruler.
A powerful ruler. So God, another term for it is ruler. Ruler. Take note of that, Israel. All right, so another word or synonym for God is a ruler. All right, go ahead and jump to Matthew 24 and 45. All right. So we're going to touch on what does that rulership look like for us? What does rulership look like for us? All right. And is that biblical? Right? The Bible said, ye are gods. And then we read the definition. It said, a powerful ruler. What does Christ say? Read that.
The book of Matthew, chapter 24 and verse 45. Who then is a faithful and wise servant?
So Christ is asking, he gave a parable. All right, just to set it up. Christ is giving a parable, and now he's asking, who then is a what?
Who then is a faithful and wise servant.
Who then is a faithful and wise servant. All right, because he's going into, when he comes back, no man knoweth the time. So when he come back, are you going to be that faithful and wise servant that's found doing the work? Or you going to be found in your sins? Whether that's for the brothers, whether that's in porn, whether that's being slothful, you lazy, you ain't got a job, you ain't doing the work, you hit a spiritual ceiling. Or for my sisters, guess what? Likewise, whether you messing with porn websites, whether you idolatry, messing with idols, whether you in the midst of fornication, you with your ex, whatever the case may be, Christ said what?
Who then is a faithful and wise servant.
He said, who then is a faithful and wise servant. Why is that? Because in verse 44, jump up, read that for me.
Therefore, be ye also ready, for in such an hour as ye think not,
The hour that you think not, the hour that we all think Christ's not coming back. Because guess what? World War III is going to pop off. It's going to pop off, and we're going to be in the midst of it. We're going to be living it day in and day out. We're going to be pilgrims on the earth, like the scriptures say. And whether that's that first month, that second month, that year, and like, dang, Christ ain't back yet. Like, he might not be coming back no time soon. Like, this might be another 5 or 10 years. The hour that we think not, read.
For in such an hour as you think not.
For in that same hour, in that hour you think, Christ ain't coming back. I got time. Right? That's the mindset. I got time. No. The hour that you think of not, read.
The Son of Man cometh.
That's when he gonna come. When you least expect it, when you in the midst of that porn, when you in the midst of that fornication, when you in the midst of that adultery, when you in the midst of that eating some pork chops, for my gluttonous brothers, when you in the midst of that sin, for whatever it is, right? Mark 7:21 names a whole list of them that we're all born and created with, right? But guess what? Whatever that sin is, if you found in the midst of it when he come, read.
Who then is a faithful and wise servant.
You're going to find out when that judgment come, when that reward come, whether you was faithful or not, whether you was that good servant. Read.
Whom his Lord have made ruler over his household.
Whom his Lord has made what?
Made ruler over his household.
There go that word again, ruler. So Christ is going to make us a what? A ruler over his what?
Over his household.
Over his household.
To give them meat in due season.
To give them meat in due season. That's that reward. In due season. That means we must endure. We must go through trials. We must go through tribulations. And then in due season, at the end of it, he going to do what?
Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing.
I wanted you to say, he's going to give them meat in due season. That's what's going to happen. If we endure to the end, he's going to give us that meat in due season, is that reward. That's what that is. Read verse 46.
Verse 46. Blessed is that servant, whom his Lord, when he cometh, shall find so doing.
Read.
Verily I say unto you, that he shall make him ruler over all his goods.
He shall make him what?
Make him ruler over all his goods.
We're going to be made ruler over all Christ's goods. What is that? Remember, Christ said, I go the way to prepare many mansions. So when it say goods, the world and everything in it, and then some. So that's what it means to be made a ruler. It's not, because right now, when you read in verse 45, right, it said, who then is a faithful and wise servant, whom his Lord hath made ruler over his household? What's that going into? That's Israel, right? You come into this truth, you become a soldier, you become an officer, right? You become a captain, and so on. Now, you've been made a ruler, a judge over the Lord's household. Guess what? If you're not faithful in that, over this household, over this little, what you think you're going to be made faithful over all things? No. You got to be faithful here and now over the household. And then it says to give them meat in due season. So after you've been faithful here, you've been a faithful steward. You've been a good soldier. You've been a good officer, right? A good deacon, a good captain, a good bishop over Israel. Then in due season, read verse 47 again.
47. Verily I say unto you,
that
he shall make him ruler over all his goods.
Then you shall be made ruler, a God over all the goods, over the earth, over the world. That's what's going to happen in due season. All right, so I just want us to hearken on that word ruler. Jump over to Matthew 25 and 22. Matthew 25 and 22. So Christ giving another parable. All right. Just set it up. It's another parable in dealing with the servants. Read.
Matthew chapter 25 and verse 22.
Uh-huh.
He also that had received 2 talents came and said, Lord, thou deliverest unto me 2 talents.
So right now, the Lord, he giving us all his spirit, right? All of us got a different portion of his spirit. And Lord's will, as you are faithful, right, as a brother is, he received 2 talents. And then what he's going to do?
Behold, I have gained 2 other talents beside them.
So in a portion of spirit the Lord give you, you're faithful. You enduring, you studying, you praying, you applying. You being faithful year after year, year after year. Guess what? The Lord, he's not slack. He's going to see, okay, you being faithful, he's going to give you more of his spirit. He's going to pour out into you. That's why you can have a brother that's go from a soldier to an officer 10, to an officer 20, to an officer 50. Guess what? You can't make a soldier an officer 50. It don't work like that. You got to be enduring. You got to be laboring, and you got to get built up and then made and groomed into that leader. That's what it takes, all right? You can't just jump. That's why that Lord going to give you a portion of spirit. Okay, he faithful. All right. Make him an officer. Okay. He got to work on his time management. He got to work on his leadership. All right. He fixed that. He worked on that. All right. Make him an officer 20. All right. He an officer 20. All right. He know how to lead, guide the men. He know how to build them up. All right. Officer 50. Now he working on his national works, his international. Okay. The Lord, he going to increase. But it's not just at once. He gave him 2 talents or 1 talent or 5 talents. And then the brother or the sister is faithful. And then the Lord increased them. Right? That's for all of us. That's literally how it goes. Right? You ain't going to get a brother off the street and now he bishop. It don't work like that. All right? Read on.
His Lord said unto him,
His Lord, Jesus the Christ, our Lord, read.
Well done, good and faithful servant.
So well done, good and faithful. Right? To be faithful requires time. You can't be faithful in one day. You can't be just faithful in 1 week. To be faithful requires a due process of time of consistency. That's how, man, that's a faithful brother. I can always count on this brother to be on time. I can always count on that brother to make sure he dressed clean and sharply. I can always count on that brother to take care of his offices. That's faithful. That's how you can find who's faithful over time. Read.
Thou hast been faithful over a few things.
You've been faithful over only a few things. And now we get in our heads, as a soldier, as an officer 10, 20, 50, like, dang, we ain't gonna say the old word, you know what I mean? That at one point in time, everybody was saying that word. Oh, I'm overwhelmed. Right? But no. It just requires a time of, I call that the growth spurt. Right? You just growing pains. That's all that is. It's just like when you was a teenager, over the summer, you may have grew and you weren't used to it. Now you walking into walls, you ain't ducking like you supposed to be ducking. It's just growing pains. But read that again.
His Lord said unto him, Well done, good and faithful servant.
Uh-huh.
Thou hast been faithful over a few things.
Over a few things. As a soldier, that's a few things. As an officer 10, that's a few things. As a deacon, that's a few things. As a bishop, that's a few things compared to what's to come. So you're like, dang, that's a few things. I'm busy nonstop. Right? That may be the mindset. Like, man, I gotta do something. Right? And that's the importance of time management and organization. All right. And each level, the moment you feel like you equipped, that's when it's okay. Let's give them, and you faithful. All right, let's give them another portion. You an officer 10 now? Let's give them an office. You an officer 20 now? Let's give them another office. Let's put them as a lead. Let's put them as a guide. You know what? We're going to put an officer 10 underneath you, but you're going to be responsible for guiding him to make sure he take the office that you was in, that you was leading, to the next level. Right? So that's a few things. We faithful over a few things. What Christ gonna do for us?
I will make thee ruler over many things.
Oh, man. Christ said he gonna make us rule over how many things?
Over many things.
Over many things. That's why we read earlier. Gods. Ye are gods. That's the many things. These nations, they gonna worship us. We are gonna be their gods. You're gonna have to, what did he say? He gonna give us a city. America is called a city in the Bible, that great city. called Babylon. So imagine running a country. Even if you break it down to now, a city now, imagine wherever city you in, imagine what goes into ruling that city, right? You have the mayor, you got the council, the councilmen, right? Then you got to worry about transportation, you got to worry about education, you got to worry about distribution of food supply, you got to worry about sanitation, right? All that goes into running a city, running a town, running a country. Like it's not just a light thing. You got to have things in order, like Bishop Yawanathan, he talked about, like having a transportation system in place, the timing of it to where this metro driver or this bus driver, they're all on the same schedule, and the planners plan it out to where they're not all congested on one road. Like, no, you're going to be here at this time, and then when you pull off, I'm going to have the next one come at this time. And then when you leave, the next one will come at this time. And y'all routes are going to be going here and going there where y'all don't collide. That takes planning. That's being faithful over a few things and then over many things to have to run that. Like, I'm telling you, Israel, right? Now, guess what? The Lord gave that to us. But read on. Read on.
Enter thou into the joy of the Lord.
Enter thou to what?
Enter thou into the joy of thy Lord.
That's going to be the joy. We're going to do it with joy. There you go, IT. I like that. That's going to be the kingdom of heaven. Understand that. Understand that. It's going to be a beautiful thing. Beautiful. I'm telling you, that's the joy of the Lord. You're going to be running things. You're going to be ruling things. So don't forget the thought. Another term, a synonym for God is what? Ruler. All right? So, IT, go ahead and look up the barbarian definition on Bing for me. All right? So the Lord said he's going to make us a ruler. All right? The title is From Gods to Barbarians. We touched on the gods. We established what's the definition of gods. Guess what? A powerful ruler. And Christ just told us in different chapters, multiple chapters, that if we faithful in the little things, or if we're faithful and good servants, good stewards, he's going to make us rulers over all his goods, over all his things, over many things. Read that for me.
Barbarian. In ancient times, a member of a community or tribe, not belonging to one of the great civilizations.
So it said a member in ancient times, a member of a community or tribe, 12 tribes of Israel, right? Not belonging to one of the great civilizations. Now, what civilizations are listed? Read that.
The city was, the city, Greek, Roman, Christian.
So Greek, Roman, Christian. Now, remember, the context of it, or the lesson objective, is to identify who Paul is referring to when he mentions being a debtor to the barbarians. So what captivity are we in? The Roman captivity. All right, and that was after the Greek captivity. So read that again for me.
In ancient times, a member of a community or tribe not belonging to one of the great civilizations. Greek, Roman, Christian.
Now it says, now Christian is not a civilization. I don't know why they threw that in there. It's Esau. They're going to always do something. Now Greek or Greece, Roman, right? That's why you have the Greco-Roman time period. So those two are civilizations. Now, were we considered belonging to the Roman civilization? No. We not Romans. Same thing with Greek. Were we considered belonging to them? Now, of course, we was in captivity, so of course they're going to say we belong or we was under their rulership. But as far as they was concerned, just like today in America, we're denizens, right? Under Rome, if you was not born a free person, a Roman citizen, you were considered a slave. And you had to buy thy freedom. Like, it wasn't like, you know how they say in America, or actually Trump, he working on rescinding it. The amendment of if you were born on American soil, that makes you an American citizen. Now, he's saying that was only meant for the slaves, right? That was only meant for us because now you have, which is Northern Kingdom, which is their country. Like, this is their land before Esau came, but he's tired of them using, or our people using the loophole of you from Cuba, you from Puerto Rico, you from Central America, and you make it into America, North America, and then you have your baby. Now your child is official American citizen. So Trump, he tired of that. So he working on pushing the laws, passing the law to, yeah, that's done. That was only meant for the slaves at the time, right? But we were not part of the Greek captivity because it says belonging to one of the great civilizations. Greece wasn't our civilization. Rome wasn't our civilization. But guess what? We were in captivity to them. So I just want us to notate that. Read the next part for me.
Derogator. An uncultured.
It's derogatory. So derogatory means an insult, right? That's what the derogatory means. It's an insult. It's a derogatory term. It's a term to put you down. I'm harkening on that because remember, we're in the Roman captivity. They're the ruling class. So when they give us names or when they refer to people that's not ruling, that's not a citizen, guess what? It's going to be in a derogatory term. Remember, under Rome, if you was not born a Roman and you was born free, if you was a slave or your parents a slave, you was a slave. That's how it worked with them. If your parents was a slave, you're a slave. Children are slaves, and they're slaves until you get a great sum of money and you buy your freedom. Then your children after you can be free. But that was only the privilege. Those that didn't have to do it was considered Romans. If you was not considered their people, you was not born free. And we're going to touch on that a little bit later in the scriptures. But derogatory term. Read that.
Derogatory. An uncultured or Buddhist person.
Read.
You're arrogant barbarian.
You arrogant barbarian. So it said as an insult. Remember, derogatory term is as an insult. You arrogant barbarian, right? Read the similar.
Savage.
Savage. Is that not what they call us? Savages? Read.
Boot.
Read.
Beast.
Beast. Troglodyte.
Troglodyte.
Read.
Rofine.
Ruffin.
Lout. Thug.
Thug. Who is called that today? Remember, the title is From Gods to Barbarians. I'm going to show you, we dealing with the time of Paul during the Roman captivity, but guess what? It's the same today in America because we was brought here as slaves. So we're under the American captivity. Make no mistake, Israel. Make no mistake. Read that again.
Top.
Thug.
Thug. Vandal.
Vandal.
Hoodlum.
Hoodlum. Who do they call hoodlums? Come on, Israel. Wake up. Wake up. So we touched on barbarian, and it's used as a derogatory term, meaning as a term as an insult. So during the Roman captivity, during the Greek captivity, guess who they called barbarians? The same people they was calling savages. Isn't that what they called us? Y'all was a bunch of savages. Y'all wasn't nothing until we came and made y'all slaves and gave y'all culture and domesticated y'all. Before that, y'all was some half-naked people shooting darts out of blow sticks. That's what they tell you. Legit. Savages, ruffians, thugs. Read.
Hooligan. Rowdy.
Hoodlum. Hooligans. Rowdy. Who does that refer to? When you think of those terms, who do you think of? Our people. That's the terms they give us on the news today. When a black person do a crime, those thugs, those hoodlums, those savages, those beasts. That's why you got the Central Park 5. Them young men didn't do anything wrong. But the way that media portrayed them, oh, they was savages. They was brutes. They was beasts to do that to them children. That's what they had to paint the picture to do what they did to those young men. All right, go down for me. Scroll up. Scroll up. Read the origin. Actually, read uncultured, brutish. Similar is savage, uncivilized. Right? That's what they said. They said we was uncivilized in Africa. We ain't going to read all of them, but as you can see, just take a look at that, Israel. Thuggish. Right? You see that word right there. Unsavaged, uncivilized, thuggish. I'm telling you, Israel, from gods to barbarians. We dealing with the time, the Roman captivity, but I'm telling you, it continued until now. Now read origin for me.
Origin. Middle English as an adjective used in a derogatory way.
So a derogatory or insultive way, it's an insult to what?
To denote a person with different speech.
Different what?
Different speech.
Pay attention, Israel. Different speech. We're going to touch on that later. But it's to denote a person with different speech and what?
and customs.
And customs. Laws. Right? We got a different culture. Customs goes into your culture, to your laws. For us, it's our laws. Our laws tell us the dietary laws, right? The ceremonial laws, right? The civil laws. Those are our customs. Those are the things that we keep. All right? Was there any more left on that? Scroll down for me. Yep, read that in pink.
A barbarian is a person or tribe perceived to be primitive.
Hold on. It said perceived, meaning you may not be primitive. Guess what? We was not primitive in Africa. When we fled, when we was in Africa, or when we was in our homeland, our civilization wasn't primitive. When we was in Israel, our civilization wasn't primitive. When they came over here in the Americas, dealing with Gad and Northern Kingdom, the civilizations was not primitive. But they will paint it as if it was. They will put us in half-naked apparel to make it seem like we just beast, savages, brutes, primitive. Read.
A barbarian is a person or tribe perceived to be primitive,
Read.
savage, and warlike.
And we was warlike. That's our culture. Every man at the age of 20 and above goes to war.
Yeah.
Unless he's fearful, unless he's afraid, unless he just married. Like, we got some stipulations, right? Because we understand, okay, you just married, go ahead, spend a year with your wife. That's back then. That's not now, brothers. Don't get it twisted.
The hell is this?
Don't get it twisted. I heard it before. I'm just saying. So don't get it twisted. That's not now. That was back then where you literally could die in battle and left no heir. Then your brother got to go into your wife to give you an heir. So to avoid that, go ahead. You newly married, stay home for a year, cheer your wife, and then, have some babies. Read on, though.
In historical references.
In historical references, read.
It refers to someone from an alien land.
From a what kind of land?
From an alien land.
What do they call our Northern Kingdom brothers? Do they not call them aliens? That's what they call them. That's what Trump, that's what Esau, that's what America calls the so-called Mexicans, the so-called Puerto Ricans, the so-called Colombians. They call them aliens trying to cross the border. Mind you, it's their border. I'm showing you, Israel, from then till now, from gods to barbarians. Read.
It refers to someone from an alien land, culture, or group believed to be inferior.
Believed to be inferior. Why do they think we're inferior? Because they conquered us. But they only conquered us because we sinned. We're going to touch on that. But they believe us to be inferior to them because they conquered us. So now, that's why I said it's a derogatory term. So they're ruling over us. From gods, from rulers, to barbarians, to servants. All right? So keep that in mind. Read.
Uncivilized or violent.
So, go ahead. You can drop that. Go ahead and get me. Was that the Merriam-Webster definition of barbarian? All right, give me that as well. So, Israel, we touched on a few key things in there. All right, so barbarian was a derogatory term, right? Just like Negro, just like African American, just like any other byword that we're going to touch on. It's derogatory. It's meant, I ain't saying the full word. Well, nigger's in the Bible. You know what I mean? Acts 13:1 says nigger. So I'm going to say it. And it's not Niger. It's nigger. That's how they've been pronouncing it. So I'm going to pronounce it too. Because that's what the Bible says. So guess what? When they say them niggers over there, guess who they not saying it in a positive light. They not saying it as a way to build your confidence up. They not saying it as in you identify with Christ because he was dark-skinned. No. They saying it in a derogatory term. They saying it to throw an insult at you. To identify a group of inferior people and uncivilized people with a different speech, with different customs. I'm showing you that guess what? Who are the barbarians? We touched on it. Read that for me. The Merriam-Webster definition, barbarian.
Barbarian, a person from an alien land, culture, or group believed to be inferior, uncivilized, or violent.
So that's what they said. Now look at the example that they give. Read.
Used chiefly in historical references.
Like what? Read.
In the Roman Empire.
In the what empire?
In the Roman Empire.
In the Roman Empire. Remember, we touching on who Paul is dealing with when he says debtors to the barbarians in the Roman captivity, the Roman Empire. Read.
Cohorts patrol the provinces, repelling the barbarians and maintaining the emperor's sovereignty.
They did what? Repelling who?
Repelling the barbarians and maintaining the emperor's sovereignty.
Telling you, Israel. Read on. Start at much.
Much of Italy had slipped from the grasp of the Byzantines. Byzantines. Victim to the vigorous Germanic barbarians.
Germanic.
Who had
talking about Germans. But go ahead.
Germanic barbarians
Uh-huh.
who had begun their migration southward from the forested fastnesses of Eastern and Central Europe.
All right, you could drop that IT. That's all I wanted. So, Israel, what we're doing is establishing who are gods and who are barbarians. So, the lesson objective, identify who Paul is referring to when he mentions being a debtor to the barbarians. Now, we looked up the definitions of what the world calls gods, which is a powerful ruler. And Christ told us he going to make us ruler over all his goods. And we're faithful if we are good stewards in few things. In that being a soldier, being an officer 10, being an officer 20, 50, captain, deacon, bishop. If we're faithful in those things, in those few things. I know it seems like a lot, Israel. It be seem like a lot to me sometimes. But guess what? That's the growing pains. And then when you get used to it, all right, throw a little bit more on them. All right, he used to it again, throw a little bit more on. She used to it, give her another office. That's how you grow into the fullness and perfection of Christ. That's how we do it. And that's how we become worthy of being ruled over all his goods. All right? Go ahead and get me Romans 1:14. So this is where Paul said it at. Romans 1:14.
The book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 14.
Read.
I am a debtor, both to the Greeks and to the barbarians, both to the wise and to the unwise.
So Paul said, I'm a debtor. Meaning I owe. That's what a debtor is. You owe. You owe somebody. Now, Israel, you already know. Most of us in debt. Like, come on now. Whether that's credit card, whether that's a mortgage, a car note, the electricity bill, you might be behind a month, Passover coming up. You know what I mean? You gotta make something shake. You trying to travel. We used to being debtors. Now, Paul, he's speaking specifically for a group of people, though. He said, I am a debtor to who?
I am a debtor both to the Greeks.
To the Greeks. So we got to find out who are the Greeks. Because we may be thinking, oh, he's a debtor to Esau. Right? That's what the world pushed to you. That's what the world will tell you. But we're going to find out. We just was reading about the definition of barbarians, and it sounded like they was describing who? Us. Northern and Southern Kingdom. Based on the word aliens, thugs, brutish, savages. Who do they call that today? You, Israel. So we're going to find out who are the barbarians. But read that again for me.
I am a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians.
And to the barbarians. Who are the barbarians? Read.
Both to the wise and to the unwise.
Who's the wise? Who's the unwise? So the short answer, Israel, is us. Israel. We're the Greeks in this sense. We're the barbarians in this sense. We're the wise and the unwise in this text. Now we're going to dive into the scriptures to find out and to prove that who are the Israelites, or who are the Greeks, who are the barbarians, who the wise, who the unwise. And we're going to prove without a shadow of a doubt it's talking about you. It ain't talking about Esau. It ain't talking about Ishmael. It ain't talking about Moab. It's talking about you, Israel. It's talking about me. All right? So go ahead and get me Deuteronomy 1:1 just to get into it. So there's no confusion. Because guess what? Everything we just read in 14 was derogatory terms. It wasn't what the Lord called us. Read that, Deuteronomy 1:1.
Deuteronomy chapter 1, verse 1.
These
These be the words which Moses spake unto all Israel on this side Jordan.
Unto who?
Unto all Israel on this side Jordan.
So these are the words that Moses spoke to Israel. Not to the Moabites, not to the Hamites, not to the mixed multitude that came out of Egypt with us. He spoke to who?
all Israel
All Israel, read,
on this side Jordan.
on this side Jordan. Now jump over to 28 and 15. Because I said that we went from gods to barbarians. We went from rulership to now being servants. Guess what? We wasn't always servants. You had King Saul, King David, King Solomon. The scriptures say that the world was silent before him, that the earth was silent or quiet before King Solomon, because his father warred and conquered every nation, and everybody paid tribute to King Solomon. So at one point in time, we was the rulerships, we was the gods, right? Now it wasn't in full body the way Christ's gonna give it to us. That's gonna be on a whole nother level, that whole nother level. But read that for me.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 15.
Let's find out. Excuse me, as we're recovering from a cold. But let's find out how we became barbarians. Read that for me.
But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee.
All these what?
All these curses shall come upon thee.
All these curses shall come upon us. Read that.
And overtake thee.
And do what?
And overtake thee.
And overtake us. Now we're going to read some of these curses. Jump down to verse 37.
Verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a
Read.
proverb, and a byword.
And a what?
And a byword.
And a byword. And a byword. And a byword. What is a byword? A byword is anything, you being called anything outside of what a God gave you. God didn't call you barbarian. God didn't call you Greek. God didn't call you those things. He called you Israel, from the tribe of Judah, Benjamin, Levi, Manasseh, Ephraim. That's what God called us. He didn't call us barbarians. He didn't call us Greeks. Those are derogatory terms put upon us by our captors. And we are the captives in the captivity. They're ruling, so they believe that we are inferior because they conquered us. All right? So we gotta see that, guess what? These are curses put upon us for breaking God's laws. We went from gods, we went from rulers to barbarians, to servants, to aliens, to thugs. Why? Because we broke God's commandments. That's how it happened. You don't come from rulership and then become a servant just out of nowhere. No, we had the power to rule. Guess what? What could make us lose our rulership? Sin. Now jump up to verse 16, because Northern Kingdom feeling this right now, right? Southern Kingdom, we've been feeling it, of course, and Northern Kingdom, they've been feeling it too. But under Trump administration, guess what? They feeling it a little bit more. Read 16 for me.
Verse 16. Cursed shall thou be in the city.
Cursed shall you be where?
Cursed shall thou be in the city.
Is that not happening? Like the class Officer Yosef did, I want to say Tuesday, his history in the AM. He was touching on ICE. Is that they going to your workplace, they going to your house, wherever you at, for Northern Kingdom and you ain't got papers, they find you cursed in the city. That's a curse for you to, you step outside your door and you don't know, am I about to be deported? From my own land, from my own country. You don't know, that's a curse. That's a curse. You in fear. That's a curse. Especially if you got over here, you gave birth to a child, they consider an American citizen, but you're not, and they take you from your children. That's a curse. That's why they got to make announcements. Hey, if you go home and your parents not there, come back to the school. Because you are considered an American citizen. But your parents, no. That's a curse, Israel. All right? Read 37 again.
Verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb and a byword among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee.
Among where?
Among all nations, whether the Lord shall lead thee.
So among all nations, guess what? We were scattered, Israel. So we wasn't always in our homeland of Israel. Like, so when you look at a map and you see Israel, we didn't just stay there. We were scattered in captivity. So guess what? We was in Rome. That's why we read in the book of Romans, because he's dealing to who? The Israelites in Rome. How can we prove that? Jump back over to Romans 1 and 14. We're going to read that again, then we're going to jump back We're going to jump back to a chapter and book before that. Read that for me. Romans 1 and 14.
The book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 14.
Uh-huh.
I am a debtor both to the Greeks.
So
and
Paul is saying, I'm a debtor to who?
to the Greeks.
Read.
And to the barbarians.
Read.
Both to the wise and to the unwise.
Now, you may say, where is he getting this from? The Greeks, the barbarians, to the wise, the unwise. Who was that? Let's jump back over a book and a chapter. Go ahead and give me Acts 28. All right? Give me Acts 28 and verse 28.
Acts chapter 28 and verse 28.
So we just jumping back, Israel. We just jumping back a book. We jumping back a chapter. Read.
Be it known, therefore, unto you
Uh-huh.
that the salvation of God is sent unto the Gentiles.
The salvation of God is sent to who?
Unto the Gentiles.
Unto the Gentiles. Who's the Gentiles? Who's the salvation? Because Paul is saying, this is Paul speaking here as well. And he's already said in the next chapter, in the next book, that he's a debtor to the Greeks, right? To the barbarians. So when we read this, it says, be it known therefore unto you. Who's he talking to? Mainly Southern Kingdom. Be it known unto you. Read.
That the salvation of God
That
is
the salvation, that the knowledge, that the blessing of Christ, the salvation of God is Christ. Read, him dying for our sins. Read.
is sent unto the Gentiles.
It's sent unto the Gentiles. You may say unto the world, unto everybody, until non-Israel. No. Read.
And that they will hear it.
And that they what?
They will hear it.
That they will hear it. So you read that like, dang, who are the Gentiles? Let's jump over to John 7 and 35. Let's jump over. Who are these Gentiles? So we got Gentiles, we got Greeks, we got barbarians, we got the wise, we got the unwise. Who are these people? Paul just sent to everybody, I guess. I guess he just for anybody and everybody. No. The Bible is very clear on who Paul was sent for. Read that.
John chapter 7 and verse 35.
So now this is Christ. Christ is jump to 34. Christ is telling them that I'm about to go. Read that.
Ye shall seek me and shall not find me.
So Christ is saying you're going to seek me, right? And you're not going to be able to find me. Read.
And where I am, thither you cannot come.
Where he going to go, we can't come, right? And what he was talking about was his death and going back to the Father. So he's saying you're not going to be able to follow me there. So now read on.
Then said the Jews among themselves,
Uh-huh.
whither will he go?
Whither will he go? So said the Jews, not everybody, the Jews said among themselves, where is Christ going to go? Where he's going to go that we can't find him, that we can't follow him. Read.
Whither will he go? That we shall not find him.
Uh-huh.
Will he go unto the dispersed?
Will he go to where?
Will he go unto the dispersed?
Unto the dispersed. Unto the dispersed. Read.
Among the Gentiles?
Among who?
Among the Gentiles?
Read.
And teach the Gentiles?
And teach the Gentiles. Is he really teaching the Gentiles? No. It said that he's going to go to those, the dispersed among the Gentiles. Remember what we just read in Deuteronomy. In Deuteronomy 1 and 1, it said Moses spake these words unto all Israel. Not to all nations, not to the scattered or the mixed multitude that came out, to all Israel. That what? That we was going to be scattered among all nations in Deuteronomy 28, 15 on down. That's what we read. In Deuteronomy 28, 15 and verse 37, it said that we was going to be made a byword among all the nations that the Lord scattered us into. So now when we read in here in John 7 and 35, the Jews ask themselves, where is Christ going to be sent? Is he going to be sent among the dispersed or unto, it said unto the dispersed among the Gentiles. Who's that dispersed? Israel. How are we dispersed? In slavery, in captivity. That's why we read Deuteronomy 1 and 1. That's why we read Deuteronomy 28, verse 15, verse 37. We got to understand, we got to precept upon precept, line upon line. The Bible makes it very plain who is it dealing with. All right. Now, say that one enough. All right. Go ahead and show me that first Zondervan Bible Dictionary definition for Gentiles. Right. We just read it that Christ is going to go to the dispersed. So we got the Zondervan Compact Bible Dictionary. We're going to look up Gentiles. Read that for me.
Gentiles, Usually it means a non-Israelite people.
It said usually what?
Usually it
Usually. That means guess what? Sometimes or usually most of the time it's referring to non-Israel. That's what usually means. Usually is a constant, right? It means it's a constant. You can rely on it. Usually that brother gonna arrive on time. Usually he's faithful. When he's not, something must be wrong. Something is out of the norm. So usually is going into normal. Read.
Usually it means a non-Israelite people.
So most of the time it means non-Israel. Read.
Under conditions of peace. Consider it.
So Judges 4:2, Isaiah 11:10, 42:1, and Malachi 1:11. So usually Gentiles is referring to the other nations. Usually. But guess what? There's a time when it's not. And what is that time? Right now. In John 7:35. Shall he go unto the dispersed and teach, or unto the dispersed among the Gentiles and teach the Gentiles? What is Southern Kingdom calling them? They calling them Gentiles. That's what's being said. That's what's being said, right? It's not saying that the whole world, that get me to, so there's no confusion, get me Matthew 15:24. It's not in my notes, but get me Matthew 15:24. I'm going to show you. Paul said, follow me as I'm a follower of Christ. That's what he said. Read that for me.
Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
What did Christ say?
I am not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Christ said, I'm only sent to the lost sheep of the what?
Of the house of Israel.
Of the house of Israel. That's who Christ came for. That's who Paul is a debtor to. The lost sheep, meaning you don't know you're Israel. You lost. You're not keeping the commandments of God. You're not following after Christ, after the Lord. That's what make you lost. That's what make you unwise. And we're going to touch on that, right? We're going to have to speed through it, right? We're going to have to speed through it. Time being a little short. So it said the dispersed among the Gentiles. Read this definition for me. Read it one more time.
Gentiles. Usually it means a non-Israelite people.
Usually. But in this sense, it's talking about Israel. Because Christ was sent only to the lost sheep. Guess what? Paul is a debtor only to the lost sheep of the house of Israel. All right? Now, go ahead and get me the definition for Greeks. All right? Because we mentioned that. Read Romans 1:14. Read Romans 1:14 again. I want to make sure we keep the thought. So from gods to barbarians.
Romans chapter 1 and verse 14. I am a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians.
So to the Greeks. Let's deal with that. Show the Zonner and Compact Bible Dictionary term for Greeks. Read that.
Grecians.
What page is this on? I want to show the page. So page 207. All right, zoom in again, please. Read that.
Grecians were Greek speaking Jews.
Was what?
Grecians were Greek speaking Jews.
So when you read that in the New Testament, when you read Grecians, guess what? Who is it speaking to? Were Greek speaking Jews. Read the next part.
Folk of the dispersion.
Folks of the who?
Of the dispersion.
Didn't we just read that in John 7:35? We just read that. Folk of the dispersion. Read.
From areas predominantly Greek.
Guess what? Scattered. We were scattered into Greece. That's what that's going into. All right? That's what that's going into. Now, go ahead and get me, I'm going to skip a little bit. Get me Matthew 4:15. Give me Matthew 4:15. So, we touched on who are those barbarians? Who are these different titles? Who are these bywords? We're showing you again after again that it's Israel. So guess what? By the time we get to barbarian, it should be no confusion. We just showed you the Gentiles are who? The Israelites. The Greeks are who? The Israelites. Read this for me. Just to touch on Gentiles again. Read that.
Matthew chapter 4 and verse 15. The land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali by the way of the sea beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles.
Galilee of who?
Galilee of the Gentiles.
Galilee of the Gentiles. So what they was calling Northern Kingdom? Zebulun, Naphtali. They was calling them Gentiles. Why? Because guess what? Northern Kingdom went off into what? Idolatry. When we had the split, they went off into idolatry. And that's what made them Gentiles, following the way of the Gentiles. Now you can read that in 2 Maccabees 6, right? 2 Maccabees 6 and 6. We're not going to touch on it for the sake of time, but it talks about being Gentiles following at the traditions of the Greeks, of the Gentiles, right? And now that's dealing with Southern Kingdom, because that was under like Levi, you know, the Hasmonean dynasty. So nevertheless, what would that make Northern Kingdom that fell off way before then into idolatry? That would make them Gentiles, all right? So, like I said, we're going to jump a little bit. Let's read Romans 1 and 14, and then we're going to touch on the wise. All right, we're going to get Psalms 19 and 7. Like I said, we're going to do a little bit of reading. So just keep up with me, all right?
The book of Romans, chapter 1 and verse 14. I am a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians, both to the wise and to the unwise.
So we dealt with the Greeks. Now we're going to jump over barbarians just for the moment. We're going to jump over it just for a moment. The Greeks, we said who that is. That's Israel. The Gentiles before that, Israel. Let's jump over barbarians and let's deal with the wise. Give me Psalms 19 and 7.
The book of Psalms, chapter 19 and verse 7.
The
law of the Lord is perfect.
The laws of the Lord is perfect. Read.
Converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure.
Read.
Making wise the simple.
Doing what?
Making wise the simple.
Making wise the simple. Now, who did Moses give the laws to in Deuteronomy 1 and 1? Israel. So the laws of God make what? Make the simple wise. So that's what the laws of God do. So who is it? Who's the wise? Israel. Jump over to Baruch 3 and 9.
Baruch chapter 3 and verse 9.
Hear
Israel, the commandments of life. Give ear to understand wisdom.
So the commandments are what? Wisdom. The commandments are wisdom. They're synonymous with it. Make no mistake. Now jump over to Romans 9 and 4. Make no mistake. The Lord gave the commandments to who? The Israelites. You can read that in Psalms 147, 19 through 20. We're going to read it in the New Testament as well. Give me Romans 9 and 4. Read that.
Romans chapter 9, verse 4.
Read.
Who are Israelites?
Who are who?
Who are Israelites?
Who are the Israelites? That's who we've been talking about the whole time. We proved that the Gentiles are Israelites. We proved that the Greeks are the Israelites. Now we're about to prove that the wise in Romans 1 and 14 are who? The Israelites. Read.
To whom pertaineth the adoption.
Read.
And the glory. And the covenants. And the giving of the law.
The giving of what?
Giving of the law.
The giving of the law. That same law that made the what? The simple wise. That was given to who? The Israelites. Read.
And the service of God.
And the service of God.
And the promises.
And the promises. All right, drop that. Now go back to Romans 1 and 14. You might want to put a little sticky note or your bookmark there. We're going to be jumping back and forth. Read that again for me.
Romans chapter 1 and verse 14.
I
am a debtor both to the Greeks.
To the Greeks, who are the Israelites.
And to the barbarians.
Who are the barbarians? Well, based upon the definitions that Esau gave us, based upon the synonyms, that's us. That's Israel. But read. We're going to prove it, though. Read. Read on. Romans 1 and 14.
So, and both to the wise and to the unwise.
Both to the wise. Who are the wise? Israelites. Why? Because they was given the law. We was given the laws that make us wise. Then it said unwise, right? That's what it said. So who's the unwise? Give me 1 Samuel 13 and 13. 1 Samuel 13 and 13. Let's find out who's the unwise. Could that be the other nations? Because you said the laws was given unto Israel, and the laws made us wise. So I guess everybody that didn't get the laws are unwise. So that's who Paul is here for. Let's find out. Read.
1 Samuel chapter 13 verse 13.
And
Samuel said to Saul, thou hast done foolishly.
You have done what?
Thou hast done foolishly.
A.k.a. unwise. Read.
Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God.
Thou hast not done what?
Thou hast not kept the commandment of the Lord thy God.
So guess what, Israel? When we don't keep the commandments, it makes us foolish. It makes us unwise. Now, jump over, because you may say, jump over to Deuteronomy 32 and verse 16. Saul was unwise in this moment because he did not keep the commandments of the Lord. Jump over to Deuteronomy 32 and 16.
Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 16.
Uh-huh.
They provoked him to jealousy.
This is talking about us. We provoked the Lord to jealousy. All right? We did that. How do we do that? Read.
With strange gods.
With what?
With strange gods.
With idolatry. That's what Northern Kingdom did. That's what Northern Kingdom did as well. Southern Kingdom, we did it too, though. But read.
With abominations provoked they him to anger.
We provoked our God to anger. Read on.
They sacrificed unto devils.
We did what?
They sacrificed unto devils.
We sacrificed unto devils. Jump to verse 20.
Verse 20.
Uh-huh.
And he said, I will hide my face from them.
God said, since we provoked him to anger by worshiping vain gods, by being in idolatry, God said he's going to do what?
I will hide my face from them.
Read.
I will see what their end shall be.
We see what our end shall be. Captivity. When the Lord was not with us, captivity, Israel. Bywords, barbarians. Read.
For they are a very forward generation.
We are what?
A very forward generation.
Simple. Forward. You forward, you ain't got tact. You unruly. You forward. You dumb. Read.
Children in whom is no faith.
And no faith. Guess what? No wisdom. Because when you have faith, that means you believe in the promises of the Lord. You believe if I keep these commandments, good things are going to happen to me. I have faith that the Lord said if I obey my father and mother, my life shall be long upon the earth. Whether I live that long or whether I know of it, I have faith in it. But guess what? When we went off into idolatry, it showed that we had a lack of faith. We were unwise, Israel. That's what we was. We was unwise. So jump back over to Romans 1 and 14.
Romans chapter 1 and verse 14.
Uh-huh.
I am a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians.
The Greeks is Israel. Barbarians, who was that? Well, we're going to jump around. Read.
Both to the wise and to the unwise.
And we just proved to you who the Greeks were, who the wise were, who were the unwise. So all those was Israel. So all these terms is dealing with who? Israel. So it would be crazy of me to think that the beginning of the book was talking about Israel. The back of the book is talking about Israel. So the middle of the book not going to talk about Israel. The front of the scripture talked about Israel. The end of the scripture talking about Israel. So now in the middle of the scripture, barbarians, it's just talking about anybody and everybody. No.
Cocaine is a hell of a drug.
Right. And Christianity is a hell of a drug. Christianity, like Bishop can always say, is a hell of a drug. I'm telling you, no. Barbarians is talking about Israel. It only makes sense when you deal with the beginning of the scripture and the end of the scripture, and you go precept on precept, line upon line. Who's it dealing with? The Israelites. All right. How do we know? All right, let's prove it. Let's prove it. Now let's get into it. Now that we said, right, who was the Greeks, who was the wise, who was the unwise, let's get into it. Give me 1 Corinthians 14 and 11. 1 Corinthians 14 and 11. Let's see what Paul say, right? So we ain't deal with that just yet. Now here come the heavy hitters. Let's see what Paul said out of his own mouth. 1 Corinthians 14, verse 11. Now, this is just the book after Romans, by the way. All right, you got Romans, then you got 1 Corinthians. This is the book after Romans, and this is Paul speaking. Read.
1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 11.
Uh-huh.
Therefore, if I know not the meaning of the voice.
If I know not the meaning of the voice, or if I can't understand what's being said, read.
I shall be unto him that speaketh a barbarian.
A what?
A barbarian.
He said that he shall be as a barbarian. Read.
And he that speaketh shall be a barbarian unto me.
So what does it mean to be a barbarian? It means that you don't understand the language. Remember, what we read, it says speech. Person of a different speech and customs. Guess what? That's what barbarian is going to. You don't speak the main languages. That's all that means. You're not speaking. You don't speak Greek. You don't speak Latin. That's what that's going into. How do we know? Go ahead, give me the Zion Bible Dictionary for barbarian. Go ahead, get that for me, IT. Because Paul said that therefore, if I know not the meaning of the voice, meaning you can't understand the speech that they're using, that I'm going to be as a barbarian when I talk to you, and you're going to be as a barbarian when you talk to me, meaning we don't understand each other. Read that for me. What page 69, and zoom in for him. Read that.
Barbarian. Originally, anyone who did not speak Greek.
Say what?
Originally, anyone who did not speak Greek.
So if you did not speak Greek, you was considered what? A barbarian. Remember, the Greco-Roman time period, Rome came right after Greece. And they damn near had the same customs, same gods. They just named them different things. That's all they did. So if Greece considered us barbarians for not speaking Greek, what you think Rome considered us when we didn't speak Latin? They considered us barbarians. How do we know? Read on.
Romans 1 and 14. Later.
Uh-oh, what was that?
Romans 1 and 14.
Isn't that what we're not dealing with? Paul said he's a debtor unto the Greeks, unto the barbarians. It said originally anyone who did not speak Greek. So those barbarians is talking about Israel that did not speak what? Greek. You might say, man, why is it so important to speak Greek? Well, most of us in America speak what? English. So that time period when Greece ruled over us, if the person that ruled over you or the nation that ruled over you, if you did not speak their tongue, they considered you barbaric, a barbarian, primitive, uncivilized. That was the derogatory or the insults that they gave us. Read on.
Later, one who was not a part of the Greco-Roman culture.
You see that? Didn't say speech and customs. It said a people or tribe with different speech and customs. So if you wasn't a part of that culture, if you wasn't having that man love Thursdays, Monday, Tuesdays, guess what? You was not part of that culture. If you weren't eating that pork, that swine, if you weren't in that if you weren't naked in that gym, you was not part of that culture. Remember, it said people of a different speech and customs. Guess what? We are a peculiar people. According to Deuteronomy 7 and 3, we was made to be above all nations.
Yeah.
We was made to be separate. Guess what? So we was not part of that Greco-Roman culture. So we was considered barbarians to those that ruled over us. And they had the power to give us that term. Just like today, oh, y'all some niggers. Y'all some thugs. Y'all some ruffians. Y'all some hoodlums. Those was all synonyms.
Whoa.
Those was all synonyms. Aliens. The people that rule over us can give us derogatory terms. Why? Because in Deuteronomy 28, verse 37, one of the curses is that we shall become an astonishment and a byword among all the nations where the Lord sent us. So guess what? And during the time of Greece, during the time of Rome, and in the time of America, we've been called barbarians. We are called servants. Understand that, Israel. Understand that. All right? Give me Acts 21:37. I'm going to prove that. So the Bible dictionary said anybody that couldn't speak Greek, right? If you could not speak Greek, you was considered a barbarian. If you did not participate in the culture, you was considered a barbarian. Now in 2 Maccabees 6, what did they do to us? They killed us if we did not partake. Read on.
Acts chapter 21 and verse 37.
Uh-huh.
And as Paul was to be led into the council.
So who are we talking about? Paul. Remember, we want to know who Paul is referring to when he says he's a debtor to the barbarians. Who is he talking to? Israelites. Now, read that.
And as Paul was to be led into the council.
So Paul was being led to the castle, read, because he was arrested and he was bound. All right. Paul got arrested. He was being bound. As he was being led to the castle, led to jail, read.
He said unto the chief captain, may I speak unto thee?
So he said to the chief captain, can I speak unto you? Can I talk to you? Right? You know how it is. You about to get like, hey, ho. You know, you're going to try to plead your case. You're going to try to get out of, you know, them handcuffs.
Yeah.
Whoa. Excuse me, officer. You're going to agree quickly with thy adversary. That's what you're going to do. Whoa. Officer, what's wrong? What's happening here? What's going on?
Bruh.
You're going to agree quickly. So Paul, he did what?
may I speak unto thee?
Let me talk to you for a second. Let me talk to you. Read.
Who said, canst thou speak Greek?
Can you speak Greek? That's what the man want to know. Whoa. You know, because Israel, like in America, I can talk a little bit of Spanish, right? I can't talk a whole lot of Spanish, right? Espanol. I can ask you what's your name, you know, where you from, how you doing. So the guard right here, the captain of the guard, he like, can you speak Greek? Meaning, can you have a full conversation with me outside of, hey, can I talk to you for a second? Because you may be like, hey, ¿cómo estás? You know what I mean? You know, me llamo Adriel. Or, ¿tú hablas inglés? You know, do you talk English? Can I switch language? So he asked him, Paul, can you speak Greek? Read. What did Paul say?
Or not thou that Egyptian?
So he thought Paul was an Egyptian, a.k.a. Paul was dark-skinned. Paul in Africa, how they look in Africa? Stop playing. They was dark-skinned, so Paul was dark-skinned. So this Roman, he asked him, can you speak Greek? Can you speak one of the main languages? Can you do that, you Egyptian, you barbarian? Read.
Which before these days made us an uproar and led us out unto the wilderness 4,000 men that were murderers.
So he confusing Paul with somebody else. That's not Paul. Paul gonna tell you who he is. Read.
But Paul said,
in Greek, he's talking to him in Greek. That's why the man asked him, can you speak Greek? He don't with that, hey, ¿cómo estás? Like, oh, you can, ¿tú hablas español? He like, I can talk a little bit. So Paul about to talk to him in what? Greek. So read what Paul said.
But Paul said, I am a man which am a Jew of Tarsus.
I'm a Jew. I ain't no Egyptian. I'm a Jew. But guess what? The Jews were dark like the Egyptians. But Paul said, I'm a Jew, which what?
Of Tarsus.
Of Tarsus. Read.
A city in Sicilia.
Read.
A citizen of no mean city.
I'm a citizen of no mean city. Why he have to say that? He's a citizen. Remember, under the Roman culture, if you was born a slave, your children are slaves. If your parents are slaves, you're a slave. If your parents are free, you're free. And if you're a slave, you have to get a large sum of money to buy your freedom, to buy not being a servant under their culture. So Paul, and you know, guess what? I'm born free. I was of no mean city. I'm privileged. That's what Paul had to let him know. Hey, whoa. Do you know who I am? Police arrested. You know how Esau do. You know who I am? You know who my father is? That's how they be. But Paul let him know I'm of no mean city. Hey, don't get it confused. I'm a Jew of Tarsus, of Sicily. I'm a citizen of no mean city. You understand me? He had to put them on, just like we do when we traveling. You go abroad and it's about to get a little. Hey man, we Americans. Yeah, I'm an American city. Like Bishop said, hey, we from the Bronx. We from New York, the Bronx. We're from New York, the Bronx. Oh shoot, all right. Then they calm down a little bit. Why? Because they understand, hey, them Americans. Hey, watch what you say and watch what you do to them. America drop bombs on people. So likewise, we today use the same. Hey, I'm American. Hey, yeah, I know you about to arrest me. You about to do the. Hey, I'm American. But read that.
And I beseech thee, suffer me to speak unto the people.
So he's like, hey, let me talk to the people. Mind you, Paul is speaking in Greek right now. Read.
And when he had given him license, Paul stood on the stairs and beckoned with his hand unto the people. And when there was made a great silence, he spake unto them in the Hebrew tongue.
What did he do?
Spoke unto them in the Hebrew tongue.
Paul spoke in the Hebrew. So what did he do? He went from speaking Greek to Hebrew. You're like, dang, guess what? You got to know Paul knew languages. Hey, stop playing with Paul. He let you know I'm a citizen of no mean city. Paul has some stuff underneath his belt now. All right. How do we know that? How do we know? Get 1 Corinthians 14 and verse 18. Paul, he went from speaking Greek to speaking Hebrew. He jumping back and forth. Guess what? How was he able to do this? Because he let you know I'm a citizen of no mean city. I'm a Jew of Tarsus. Read that.
1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 18. I thank my God. I speak with tongues more than ye all.
What did Paul say? I speak with what?
I speak with tongues more than ye all.
Paul said I speak with tongues more than ye all. Guess what? Paul was more than bilingual. He could talk to the people. That's why the Lord sent him. Christ sent him out. Because he can deal with the people. He can speak that Greek. Because guess what? That was the main tongue at the time. You got Greek and you got Latin. IT. See if you can find that scripture. I forget where it's at, but Paul he was beaten, and they found out that he was a Roman citizen, right? And then they was like, oh shoot, like they let him go afterwards. So see if you can find that for me, IT. All right, we're gonna keep reading though. We're gonna keep reading. So read that again for me.
1 Corinthians 14.
Yep. And Paul, he asked him, is it lawful for you to do this unto a Roman or something like that? Read that for me.
1 Corinthians chapter 14 and verse 18. I thank my God, I speak with tongues more than ye all.
So Paul spoke in tongues. Paul spoke multiple languages. How do you know? We just read that in Acts 21:37. He went from speaking Greek to speaking Hebrew. He was probably more than bilingual. I'm sure he knew Latin too, because that was the major. Rome, they dealt with Latin. Greece, they dealt with Greek. And then guess what? He's a Jew. So what did he speak? Hebrew. So he had to know at least like 3 languages. All right, read. Verse 19.
Verse 19. Oh.
If it's some more on 18, you can read that too.
Yet in the church I had rather speak 5 words with my understanding.
Read.
That by my voice I might teach others also.
Read.
Than 10,000 words in an unknown tongue.
To be a barbarian. To speak in an unknown tongue would be as a barbarian, because you can't understand me, I can't understand you. It's unknown. Paul said, I'd rather speak 5 words, and you know what I'm saying, than I speak, give me a language, Latin. I can talk Latin, who gonna know that? Or this modern Hebrew, I can speak that, who's gonna know that, right? A lot of these camps push that, but who do you speak Hebrew? Or this what they call Hebrew, this Yiddish. Do you speak that? Then do the congregants speak that? Do the babies, do the children speak that as you teach them commandments? No. So what good is it to them? Paul, and I'd rather speak 5 words in English, bring it up to today. I'd rather speak 5 words in English than I speak that Yiddish, 10,000 words. I can tell you the chapter upon chapter, verse upon verse, and nobody understands me in the church. It's vain. It's of no use. It's of no help. And Paul let us know that. All right? Yeah, thank you, IT. Get me Acts 22, verse 25. Acts 22, verse 25.
The book of Acts, chapter 22 and verse 25.
So this is right after Acts 21, verse 37. Mind you, he got arrested, right? He got arrested. Hey, can I talk to you for a second? He spoke in Greek. And then he spoke in Hebrew to the people. Now, next chapter, read.
And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion.
So they bound him. They bound him. Paul, when you do the work, don't be surprised we're gonna get locked up, brothers. It's gonna happen. It may not happen yet, but it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Read that again.
And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by, Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman?
That is a what?
That is a Roman?
That's a what?
That is a Roman?
That is an American? Paul said, I'm a Roman. You understand me? That's why he said, whoa, I'm a Jew from Tarsus of no mean city, a citizen of no mean city. Paul had to, this is who I am. This is my paperwork, right? Check that. Check my passport. That's who I am. We American citizens. You better watch what you say. You better watch what you do.
You better shut your white mouth. I'm not kidding.
I like that. IT, read that again.
And as they bound him with thongs, Paul said unto the centurion that stood by,
read.
Is it lawful for you to scourge a man that is a Roman?
To beat, because they about to beat him. Or did they already beat him? Let me see. Yep. He should be examined by scourging. Yep. So, Paul, is it lawful for you to do that to a what?
Scourge a man that is a Roman?
Read.
And uncondemned?
And uncondemned, meaning you can't even prove the charges that's against me. You haven't proven it, but you don't whoop me. And I'm a Roman citizen. Guess what? Remember what I said? In their culture, if you wasn't born free, you were a slave. If you wasn't their people, you were a slave. So everybody outside of Rome, Romans, were considered slaves unless you bought your freedom, and you have to have your paperwork, your approval, your proof that I'm official. I'm official tissue, right? So Paul asking them, is it okay for you to beat a man that is a Roman and uncondemned? Meaning the charges ain't even sticking. Read.
When the centurion heard that,
When the centurion heard that, read,
he went and told the chief captain,
he told the chief captain, hey, who was probably a Greek, read,
saying, take heed what thou doest.
what?
Take heed what thou doest.
Hey, man, you better be real careful with them Americans. Where they say they from? They said they from New York, the Bronx. Oh, Harlem. Hey, be very careful on what you say and do to them. Read.
For this man is a Roman.
For these men are Americans. They're Americans. Read.
Then the chief captain came and said unto him, tell me, are they a Roman? He said,
I gotta know, like, damn, we done did this to him. Hey, man, hey, you American? Dang, God damn it. Read that.
Then the chief captain came and said unto him, tell me, art thou a Roman?
Tell me, are you American? Read.
He said, yea.
Yea, yes, we Americans. Read.
And the chief captain answered, with a great sum, and obtained I this freedom.
So the captain let you know. Mind you, he speak Greek. But guess what? As far as Roman is concerned, unless you them, you a slave. So this Greek, this captain, this chief captain, how did he obtain his freedom? Read that again.
And the chief captain answered, with a great sum, obtained I this freedom.
Did I tell you that? In their culture, you got to buy your freedom. Otherwise, your parents slaves, you a slave. Your grandkids slaves, they slaves. Somebody got to break the chain or everybody going to be slaves. Now, if you born free, you good. You good. Watch what Paul about to say. Read.
And Paul said, but I was freeborn.
Paul said, I was freeborn. I had to buy nothing.
Yeah.
My daddy was good. My daddy took care of all that. I was in a good, no mean city. I'm a Jew of Tarsus, of no mean city, a citizen. You know what I mean? He had to put it like that. You had to buy your freedom. I'm freeborn. Mind you, we in Roman captivity, but Paul let him know, hey, I'm freeborn. Understand, we ain't the same. We ain't equal. I was born free. That's what I'm telling you. That's why our Lord Christ used Paul. Right? Now, obviously, he was made from the beginning to use him, of course. But I'm saying the way he made him grow up in his life. All right, sidebar. Before you come into truth, the life that you live, what things you go through, is for the Lord to use you in here. That's what it's for. Whatever you was in the world, repent from it, obviously, the evil, but whatever you learned, use it for the Lord. Use it unto the Lord. That's what you're for. That's why the Lord called you and not somebody else. So whatever trials, experiences, the good and the bad, use that for the Lord. All right? Read on.
Yeah.
Then straightway they departed from him, which should have examined him. And the chief captain also was afraid.
He was what?
He was afraid.
He was scared. Why? Because what they did to him. Read.
After he knew that he was a Roman.
Read.
And because he had bound him.
You can't bound. Who is you to bound a Roman? They was not playing. They was not playing. When it came to the customs and the laws that they had, they was today. For example, how Esau be with the police. The way Esau talked to the police, man, I pay your salary. I own you. You serve me. That's not how Jake talked to the police. You trying to? How can I help you, sir? Good evening, sir. Good evening. How are you doing? You all right? That's how we dealing with them. We trying to agree quickly with them. Not Esau. Give me your badge number. I want your supervisor. You don't do your job. Cut them off and everything. Because they understand that, no, I'm a citizen of America. I'm of the highest echelons. We call ourselves citizens. We use it, right? But really, we're denizens in America. In their Constitution, we was 3/5 of man. They have to make the 13th Amendment for us and more amendments to give us rights during the 60s. So when we go abroad, we use it like, yeah, we American citizens. But we understand here locally, like, hey, we some niggas as far as they concerned. You know what I mean? We ain't going to deal with them the way Esau deal with them, the way Karen deal with them. That's not us. But they understood, hey, bro, you can't touch them the way you touch everybody else. You can't touch and you can't deal with them. You can't talk to them how you talk to everybody else. He's a Roman. Likewise, when we go abroad, hey, man, I'm Americans. Hey, bro, calm down. Calm down. All right. Appreciate you, IT, for that. Get me Luke 23 and 38. Read that for me. Luke 23 and 38.
22, Luke 23.
23 and 38.
Luke chapter 23 and verse 38.
Uh-huh.
And a subscription also was written over him in letters of Greek and Latin and Hebrew.
What? Read that order again. It was written in what?
And written in Greek
In Greek.
and
Remember,
Latin.
remember the Greco-Roman time period. What captivity came first? The Greek captivity, then the Roman captivity. And the Romans took much of the Greek culture. That's what they did. So it was written. Now this is our Christ, right? He being crucified. So on the wood, on a plaque to show what he's being condemned for, they wrote it in what?
They written over him in letters of Greek
In Greek,
and Latin.
Latin. Why? Because Greece and Rome, they was the ruling powers at the time. We was in their captivity. And what was the third language?
And Hebrew.
Why Hebrew? Because that's what it was in our homeland. That's the area that the judgment was happening in. So if it was somewhere else, they would have put it in Arabic or in Chinese or wherever the case may be. But because it was in our homeland, it was in Hebrew for us, the native people, to understand. But in first and foremost, it said Greek, Rome, or Greek, Latin, then Hebrew. Why? Because the people that ruled over us, they want to better come by and, oh, okay. All right, that's what this Negro was hanging up for. All right. They want to make sure they understand. They're good. And then they put us Hebrew to make sure the natives understood what was taking place. So I just want y'all to notate, those was the major languages at that time. So if you could not speak Greek, you could not speak Latin, you was considered a barbarian. All right. Now, get me the first website for #1 language in the world. #1 language in the world. Pull it up for me, IT. So what is the #1 language in the world? English. That's what pops up. You look it up. The #1 language in the world is English. Now, give me the next one. Get me English is spoken all over the world. So what's the #1 language all around the world? English. Why is that? Because America rules the world. They have, what, over 800 military bases around the world. Now, let's see how many people speak English. 1.8 billion. You can read that. Go ahead, soldier.
Excuse me. 1.8 billion speakers.
So 1.8 billion people speak English. Read.
As a result, when native and second language speakers are considered, English is the most spoken language with 1.8 billion speakers globally.
Read.
English is recognized as an official language in 67 independent and 27 anonymous countries around the world.
Right, autonomous countries around the world. So it said the native and the second language is 1.8. So meaning, guess what? Everybody, I ain't gonna say everybody, majority of the world that's not in America, their second language that they learn is English. So whether they speak Chinese, they learn English. Mandarin, they learn English. Arabic, they learn English. And most of us in America, we only know English. We got to step our game up, all right? Especially we dealing with Northern Kingdom and our lost brothers and sisters like Isaiah 11:11, all right? Give me the next site. Let's see what Trump did with his English lately, all right? Let's see what Trump did. Because we say that's the #1 language in the world. Let's find out. Good old Trump. Read that.
Trump made English the official language. What does it mean for the country?
Read.
President Trump's executive orders put his America's first stamp onto the nation's speech, but the effect might be muted.
Go down. Let's see. 1 second. Yep. Read that first paragraph for me.
President Trump executive order.
So Trump made an executive order. He signed it. It's law. Read.
Order making English the official language of the United States.
So the official language of the United States of America now is what? English. And what's the predominantly spoken language around the world? English. Why? Because America rules the world. All right, read on.
Reach into history to argue its case, noting that the country's founding documents were written in English.
So he said, hey, English should be our language because our founding documents was in English. And that's that 3/5 of man was in English for us. If you don't get it twisted, I know we can marry Becky now. We got a job now. You can buy you a house. You get you a car. You can retire. I know. But understand you're a barbarian to these people. Understand you are a denizen. Understand you are a byword. You are uncivilized, a hooligan, a thug, a ruffian. That's what you are to them. But let's not, go too far. Read the next paragraph.
But it turns out, not only in English,
Uh-huh.
after the Constitution was drafted in 1787.
All right, you can drop that. All right, appreciate you, IT. So, guess what? The number one language in the world is English, whether that's primary or secondary language, because 1.8, billion?
Yep.
Billion people speak the language, right? And it's the primary language for over 67 countries and 27 independent autonomous countries. Then America just added their name to that list. So it'd be 68 now, because Trump just made sure America made English the official language. Now, you may say, why am I bringing that up? Why am I saying that? Who has not seen Karens and what they call them, Kens, I guess, I don't know, speak American, right? Who has not heard them say that to Chinese people or Northern Kingdom? They tell me, speak American, man, speak American. You like, speak American? But they talking about what? English. Give me that first video. Actually, yeah, give me that first video. Because remember, that man asked Paul, the chief captain, can you speak Greek? Right? Can you speak Greek? Read that. Or, play that. Okay. So while IT pull that up, remember, I don't want us to forget the thought. Read Romans 1:14 for me. Let's not forget the thought.
Romans chapter 1 and verse 14.
Uh-huh.
I am a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians, both to the wise and to the unwise.
So we prove that the Greeks were who? Israel. We prove that the barbarians are who? Israel. And we prove that the wise is talking about Israel and the unwise is talking about Israel. So who was Paul a debtor to? The Israelites. And he let you know that in Romans 9:4. I wish I'd be a curse for my brethren, who the Israelites, who Christ came for concerning the flesh for their fathers. That's who Paul dealing with. Just like Christ when we read Matthew 15 and 24. I am only sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And Paul said, I'm a follower of Christ, so be ye a follower of me, as I am of Christ. Play that video. Speak American. Play.
You speak American?
You speak American?
Do you speak American?
No, señor. No habla americano.
Shit. Armando.
All right.
Necesito
That's all I wanted. Do you speak American? No, American is not a language, but it's the audacity. It's the mindset. That's what I want to show you. It's the mindset, Israel. The audacity. It's not a me and you. We denizens. We know where we at in American society. We always at the bottom. But Esau, they made it a little comedy skit, right? But in their mind, if they can't understand you, and most of them don't take the time to learn another language. So if they can't understand Spanish, Chinese, whatever, speak American. That's how they speak American, meaning speak English. That's what that is. Trump just made English America's official language. The next video. So it's put in a comedic sense, obviously, but I'm sure you've seen videos on YouTube or wherever where Esau's tell people that speak American. Hey man, speak American. Or when they want to insult Northern Kingdom, speak American. Play the next video. All right.
Please tell me you speak English. I'm Detective Carter. Do you speak any English? Do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? I cannot believe this shit. First I get a bullshit assignment, now Mr. Rice-A-Roni don't even speak American. Come on, man, my ride over here.
All right. Don't even speak American. What's that American you referring to? English. American is not a language, but it's the audacity, it's the mindset. Like I said, they put in a comedic sense, you know what I mean? Chris Tucker and all that. But That's literally how Esau be feeling. If they can't understand a certain group of people, they going to say, hey, man, speak American, meaning speak English. And if you can't speak English, you're a barbarian. I'm just showing you the mindset. If you can't speak English in America, as far as they're concerned, you're a barbarian. You're not a citizen. You're an alien, right? You're an immigrant, right? That's the terms that they have for those that are not born, that's not freeborn. I'm telling you, it's the same thing from during the time of Paul to now, during our time. It's the same mindset, the same concept, all right? So play that next video for me for Hannibal. So one of the most famous barbarians or Esau calls barbarians is who? Hannibal. Now we're gonna show what Esau calls them. Nope. It's the History Channel. Yep. There you go. So what I want you to do is show the title. Yep, I want them to see the title. Nope, I want them to see the title of this video on YouTube. We see the video, just make it smaller. Oh, you downloaded it? Okay. All right. So give me 1 second. I'll read the title. Give me 1 second. So the title for this is called Barbarians Rising. Hannibal, A Campaign of Vengeance, Episode 1, the History Channel. All right. So I just want you to notate, Israel, that Esau is referring to Hannibal as a what? A barbarian. Now play that.
Hannibal is a Carthaginian aristocrat from the Barcid family, who are a significant family in Carthage.
He's talented, he has grit, he has perseverance. Hannibal is one of the few enemies Rome had that they actually respect and idolize, and that is a lot because of his tremendous achievement.
He's got a famous father who's fought against the Romans, who nurtures him, in the words of some of the writers, as a lion cub raised for the destruction of Rome.
Carthage really was Rome's only competitor as an empire in the central and western Mediterranean. When his men see him at the age of 26, when he takes command of the Carthaginian army, they see his father reborn in him, in his gestures and the way he speaks and the way he holds himself. They see a commander of the greatest promise.
We will be victorious!
All right, that's it. Just a minute. So now they've made the statement of they see his father in him. So we're going to touch on it a little bit later, but the Punic Wars, guess what? Hannibal is Israel. If you didn't know, Hannibal is Israel. Remember, what did Esau, even to this day, what did the Edomites call him? A barbarian. Romans called him barbarians, and Esau in America, in Germany, wherever, History Channel, they called him what? A barbarian. All right, now, play that short for me. The next video with Bishop. So I just want y'all to notate what Esau has labeled Hannibal. He's labeled a barbarian. Okay.
All right, here's another
Go ahead.
book, and I do like this book. Who's Who? Read that, Jello.
Who's Who in Philadelphia
When was this published?
in 1912. The Negro learns from history that Hannibal, the world's greatest general and one of its greatest statesmen, was of Ethiopian blood.
That when he's talking about Ethiopia, he's talking about he was an Israelite. He was of the tribe of Asher. When you read Babylon to Timbuktu. Next highlighted section.
That King Solomon, the wise man of our Bible, proudly acknowledged that he was black.
So this author put down that Solomon acknowledged he was. So what's wrong with Christianity? They said, oh, a woman wrote that. No, King Solomon wrote that. Go ahead. This was in 1912.
That Jesus Christ himself was as much a Negro as some of the race you persecute.
Wow, y'all see that right there?
All right.
1912.
So in that
right.
book, Who's Who, it lets you know who Hannibal is. In the book From Babylon to Timbuktu, it lets you know who he is. He's from the tribe of Asher. He's an Israelite. But Esau calls him what? A barbarian. Why? Because he may not speak Greek. He may not speak Latin. And guess what? He didn't conform himself to their customs as belonging to the Greco-Roman culture. Why? How do you know that? Because he went to war with them, just like we did. He went to war with them. Why? Because he's Israel. All right. Now, get me Second Chronicles chapter 30. Start at verse 1. And you can just read through it. Read 1 through 11. And I'm going to just touch on it a little bit. I'm going to just touch it.
11 and 1?
2 Chronicles chapter 30, verse 1. So we're dealing with Hannibal from the tribe of Asher. Remember what we read in Matthew 4 and 15. It dealt with Nathali. It dealt with, who else? Let me make sure. That way I got the name. In Zebulun, right? It said the land of Zebulun and the land of Naphtali by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. Now, it just named 2 northern kingdom tribes. But guess what? It's dealing with all northern kingdom called Gentiles, called Grecians, called barbarians. Read that.
2 Chronicles chapter 30 and verse 1.
Uh-huh.
And Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah.
So a righteous king of a southern kingdom, you know, you ain't gonna better find that northern kingdom. But go ahead.
And wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh.
We love you, northern kingdom. Read.
That they should come to the house of the Lord at Jerusalem.
So he wrote unto Ephraim and Manasseh. Why I say Ephraim and Manasseh? Because those are the head tribes of the northern kingdom. Ephraim is the head tribe of the northern kingdom. And Manasseh was his brother. Read.
To keep the Passover unto the Lord God of Israel.
Read.
For the king had taken counsel, and his princes, and all the congregation in Jerusalem, to keep the Passover in the 2nd month.
Why? Because when you forget it, right, there's another opportunity to celebrate Passover. If you was unclean, whatever the case may be, you wasn't able to celebrate it, our law had a stipulation to make sure that you could celebrate it again. All right, so I just want to take note that it said the king had taken counsel. For all y'all that don't take counsel, if a king take counsel, how much more we? Let's follow our forefathers, our heroes, and take counsel. All right, I'm just throwing it out there. Sidebar. Read on.
For they cannot keep it at that time.
They couldn't keep it at the normal time.
Because the priests had not sanctified themselves sufficiently. Neither had the people gathered themselves together to Jerusalem.
Read.
And the thing pleased the king and all the congregation.
And it pleased them to invite their brothers. Even though they fell off into idolatry, right, the bulk of them, even though they fell off, it pleased them to bring them back in. Likewise today, we got to stop the hatred between northern and southern kingdom. We got to. Read.
So they established a decree to make proclamation throughout all Israel, from Beersheba even to Dan, that they should come to keep the Passover unto the Lord God of Israel at Jerusalem. For they had not done it of a long time, in such sort as it was written.
Read.
So the post went with the letters from the king and his princes throughout all Israel and Judah.
Throughout all Israel and Judah, northern and southern kingdom. Read.
And according to the commandment of the king, saying, Ye children of Israel, turn again unto the Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Israel, and he will return to the remnant of you.
So stop the idolatry. Stop the idolatry. Stop worshiping other gods and worship the Lord our God. Read.
That are escaped out of the hand of the kings of Assyria.
So those are the ones that escaped. So some remnants, right? But what I want to notate is, guess what? Is that not the same thing in the New Testament? That's how you know they had the Spirit of Christ on them. That's how you know. They let them just repent, just turn away, just stop doing what you're doing and keep the commandments. Is that not what we taught? Is that not what we teach? I'm telling you, the Spirit was on them. Read.
And be not ye like your fathers.
Don't be like them. Read.
And like your brethren, which trespass against the Lord God of their fathers, who therefore gave them up to desolation, as you see.
Read.
Now, be ye not stiff-necked as your fathers were, but yield yourselves unto the Lord.
Read.
And enter into his sanctuary, which he hath sanctified forever, and serve the Lord your God, that the fierceness of his wrath may turn away from you.
Now jump down to verse 10, just for time's sake.
Verse 10. So the post passed from city to city through the country of Ephraim and Manasseh, even unto Zebulun.
Unto where?
Even unto Zebulun.
Galilee of the Gentiles. Read.
But they laughed them to scorn and mocked them.
Read on.
Nevertheless, divers of Asher.
Divers of who?
Of Asher.
Like Hannibal and his family. Read.
And Manasseh and of Zebulun humbled themselves and came to Jerusalem.
So guess what? Some of our people still who knew who they were. So we still resisted Rome, even though we was in captivity. Guess what? Hannibal was from the tribe of Asher. All right, so I just wanted to show that Asher had fell off way back then, right? So why is it important? When you look at the map that we're going to show, the location, Asher is not going to be where they was originally at. That's not going to be the case. When you look at Carthage, it's not going to be where it was originally at as far as dealing with the tribe of Asher in their land, all right? Just want to notate that. Now, go ahead and jump. We almost finished Israel. Go ahead and jump to read Romans 1:14. In IT, I want you to show that Bible page, the next picture, while he reads Romans 1:14.
Romans chapter 1 and verse 14.
Uh-huh.
I am a debtor both to the Greeks and to the barbarians, both to the wise and to the unwise.
Okay. Let's see who that's referring to. Go ahead and show that picture. It's the next one with the arrow, the orange arrow. There's two of them on the Bible picture. Yep, that one right there. So, because what we're going to show, even our Bibles tell us, right? Esau tells you who the barbarians are, all right? So, Romans 1:14, that's the top arrow. Then at the bottom, this Esau, they give you the little commentary and stuff. Read that for me.
Romans 1 and 14, barbarians. Paul is referring to the non-Greek Gentile populations.
So, okay, the non-Greek Gentile populations, right? That's what Esau say, right? Read.
Such as the northern European peoples, the Britons, the Gauls, and the Celts.
So who are these people? Esau gonna tell you it's the world. It's anybody and everybody. Play that next video for me. Play that next video for me. Take note of goals. All right. Take note. Take note of that. And now when you look at the history with Hannibal, he united the tribes and whatnot. But go ahead, play that. So don't forget the thought.
Keep going. We're going to see what these people
go ahead. You good. Go ahead.
We're going to see who these Carthaginians are. Watch.
The Carthaginians were Semites.
The Carthaginians were Semites.
Oh,
they were
praise.
Semites. Watch this.
Akin in blood and features.
They were akin in blood and features. Go ahead.
Semites. Shem. Right? How these dang on fakes want to, like, oh, we Semitic, you anti-Semitic. Guess what? Hannibal was Shemitic or Semitic. All right? He's our people. These are our people. We just proving it. But go ahead, press play.
To the ancient Jews.
They were akin in blood and features to the ancient Jews.
Tribe of Asher.
Stay with you so I can know exactly why or what I'm reading. You can read it. I'll read along with you. Page 88.
Hannibal and his African troops.
That is what?
African troops.
Black troops. Remember the Gauls? Remember that? Remember them being Gauls?
Isn't that what the Bible, the little Esau's commentary just said? Goals? Let's hear about it. Read or play.
Gauls and Spaniards. These are blacks.
These are what? Blacks. These are blacks. I know Esau call them barbarians, though. Esau going to throw that derogatory term, that insult upon our people. Read.
Must have brought a great deal of Negro strain.
And remember parts ago I mentioned how he said you had dark Spaniards in that book I brought out, the Native Americans. It said dark Spaniards.
You go ahead, pull it. Okay. So just want to notate. So guess what? From Shem, the features, all of that is proof that guess what? Hannibal wasn't a so-called white man as Esau would tell you, but now they try to come out with a little bit of truth now on the History Channel. But guess what? He was from the tribe of Asher, Northern Kingdom, Galilee of the Gentiles. Our people had one off. So when we show the picture of where Carthage is located so they can understand? Remember, we was carried away in captivity. Remember that. Why? Because we fell into sins, idolatry. Zoom out a little bit. All right. So, yeah, there you go. So where the orange arrow is at is Carthage. Now, move the cursor to your right. Now, the Arabia, Partera, to the right. That's Israel over there. If you did not know, that's Israel over there. That little area, can you show, yeah, thank you. So, Asher, originally over here, but now where they at? Show Carthage is over there. Why? Captivities, right? Now, remember, Israel is a part of Africa. Don't forget, it's the northern part of Africa. Don't let them tell you the Middle East just because they want to build something. It's Africa. And now show them Rome, or pull the cursor over Rome. There you go. So Carthage is in Africa, northern Africa, and Rome is above it, right? That's why they had the Punic Wars. And guess what? Sardinia and Corsica, that was part of Carthage territory as well. That was Asher's territory, the tribe of Asher during that time. Now, they lost that, I want to say, under the first Punic War. But then under the second one, they lost more land as well. So, but that was under Hannibal. All right, you can drop that. So I just want you to notate that, guess where Carthage, where Hannibal was at, was where? Northern Africa. Same place where did they get us at? Africa. All right, so I just want you to notate, Israel, that who they call a barbarian is really Israel. And that's from then all the way to today. We just got the term African American. Now, how do we get that? Go ahead and pull up that Leo Scipius Africanus. Pull up the information for him. Because you may say, I'm African American. What does that have to do with barbarians? Well, we showed you the synonyms, the similar words where they say thugs, hoodlums, savages, barbarians. That's what they call us on the news today. But guess what? Even the name African American, which is a byword, comes from who? Esau, a Roman. So, the Battle of Zimri. Now you look at the Punic Wars. Let's read the aftermath. Go ahead and read that for me.
Aftermath. The Romans looted the Carthaginian camp, and Scipio marched his legions back to Tunis. The Carthaginians again sued for peace.
So I just want you to notate, who did Hannibal? Give me the picture of Leo Scipius Africanus first. Give me the picture. Then we're going to come back to this site. Let me set it up. No, the one that I sent. The screenshot. Yep, the screenshot. Because we're going to set it up. Who was Hannibal fighting against? I'm telling you, it all connects to today. It all connects to today. From gods to barbarians. We was talking about Paul during the Roman time, but guess what? American is extension. And likewise, so are we. They called our forefathers barbarians. Likewise are we so-called barbarians in America. You got the picture I want, IT? All right. So, Leo Scipius Africanus. Read that for me.
The Battle of Zama. Scipio Africanus, a Roman general, defeated the Carthaginian leader Hannibal.
Read.
In the Battle of Zama,
Read.
202 BCE, ending the Second Punic War.
Read.
Scipio's victory made him a powerful symbol of Roman triumph over Carthage, and his peace terms were reasonable.
They say it was reasonable, but it's never reasonable. Esau is never reasonable. So I just want you to notate that. That's Scipio Africanus. Now, remember it says, so he beat Hannibal, right? He beat our forefather, Hannibal. Now it said Scipio's victory made him a powerful symbol of Romans' triumph. That's where he got the name Africanus. How? Where is Carthage located? Northern Africa. You don't believe me? Let's go back to Wikipedia. Go back to it. His name he didn't always have the title Africanus. He didn't. He was a Roman general, Leo Scipio. Then he gained the term or the name Africanus and the victory and the glory of it by beating Hannibal. And then what did they do? They named the continent after him. We're going to read it. Jump down to the second paragraph. Yep, that one right there.
The peace treaty the Romans subsequently imposed on the Carthaginians stripped them of their overseas territories.
Carthaginians, but
Carthaginians stripped them of their overseas territories and some of their African ones, and enmity of.
All right, so now jump down to the last sentence of that. Yep, it's after 201 BC.
Henceforth, it was clear Carthage was politically
subordinate
to Rome.
So they became subjected. Mind you, we was already in captivity to Rome. Israel, Jerusalem, we was already under captivity. But guess what? Asher, as we was dispersed, some of our people were still fighting. But eventually, guess what? It was of the Lord that we went into captivity to Rome because 70 AD had to happen. Guess what? You can't have that happen, and then you got tribe of Asher still over here ruling and doing their own thing. No, it don't work like that. What happens to one tribe, it happened to the nation of Israel. All right? That subjugation, that captivity happened to the whole of Israel. Nobody was spared from that thing. All right? Outside of Northern Kingdom, and they didn't get spared either. So, read that last part, though. That last sentence.
Scipio was awarded a triumph.
He was awarded a triumph. Read.
And received the adjunum.
Read.
Africanus.
Africanus. That's how he got his name. That's how he got that title. And then what did they do? They named the whole continent after him just because he won that war. They named the whole continent. And now today, fast forward today, what is our names? What's the terms they gave us? African Americans. Deuteronomy 28 and 37. Thou shalt become an astonishment and a byword. That's unto all nations where the Lord shall send thee. So now we sent in America, and now we got the title African American. Where does that term African come from? Leo Scipius Africanus. That's where it come from. That's where it come from. The Africanus come. And guess who he did? He conquered our forefather Hannibal. And now, who do they call Hannibal? Or what did they call him? Barbarians. They called him barbarians. Now we carry the name of the conqueror or the title of the conqueror. And guess what they call us and treat us today as? Barbarians. I'm just showing you, Israel, from gods to barbarians. It was from back then during the time of Paul even till now. All right. That's it. This is gonna be the last one. Well, I did say give me the last video. Give me the last video. And this is gonna be the conclusion, Israel. All right. Give me the last video. Because I said what happened to the whole nation. Northern Kingdom might have went to America, but guess what? They still end up getting in captivity too. All right. Now we're gonna touch on some things. Or I'm gonna let Deke touch on it, and then that's gonna conclude class. Go ahead, play that video from it. So Gentiles, what happened to the Northern Kingdom? All right. And then
verse 40. Here's what the majority of them, listen to my words. The majority of Northern Kingdom came to this side of the world. Men like Hannibal, Barca, the Carthaginians, Northern Kingdom. Men like El Tarif, who crossed to Spain and conquered Spain during the Dark Ages, Northern Kingdom. Do you understand this? Northern Kingdom was taken over to areas of China, Japan, Tartary. Not all Northern Kingdom was on this side of the world. You understand? But the bulk of them on this side. And the remnants of that bulk were everywhere else. The bulk of Judah was brought to this side.
So everywhere else. Remember I said we were scattered. That's the dispersed that we was going into, right? So yeah, the bulk of them was over here. They didn't escape it either. They didn't escape it either. They didn't escape it either. So we got conquered there. Then guess what? Esau came right over here. Let's get the rest of them. And that's what happened. But the remnants, you have like Hannibal from the tribe of Asher, right? You got Tobit. Those are remnants, right? After captivity, after you travel or you move, that's the remnants. We have remnants of Northern Kingdom. When you read Maccabees, right, that was happening in the Hasmonean dynasty, which is Levi. But guess what? If they was killing us, the Southern Kingdom, for not committing idolatry, and Northern Kingdom was already doing that. You think it was so hard for them to convert to whatever Esau said, the Greeks? No, not at all. All right. So we're just showing you, Israel, that from way back then, during the time of Rome, during the time of Paul, even up till now, we considered barbarians. But before that, we had rulership under King David and King Solomon. King David conquered the lands, and the earth was quiet before King Solomon. But now, since then, we've been in captivity after captivity after captivity, and we've been called barbarians, derogatory terms, even all the way up to today in America by African American, Puerto Rican, Mexican. All those are derogatory terms or bywords that was given unto us by who? Our conquerors. All right. With that, Israel, that's going to conclude a segment of History in the AM. All right. I was your host, Officer Adriel from Virginia. I pray y'all was able to glean something. I pray y'all got the lesson objective, which is, I'm going to read it one more time. Identify who Paul is referring to when he mentions being a debtor to barbarians. So we showed y'all that, guess what? We are the barbarians. That was just another term, another derogatory term Esau put on our people when they ruled over us. And likewise today, denizens, 3/5 of a man. All right? With that, Israel, say shalom. Most high and grace bless.
Nation is men leading by example. Nation is family.